Hi, everybody. I've gotten more questions probably on COVID-19 and the relationship with prophecy in the end times than maybe anything else in doing years of these videos. So let me try to answer a couple of questions for you. How does this coronavirus fit into biblical prophecy? Well, the short answer is that there is no way to know directly how it fits in. I've gotten people who are tracking the various things happening around the world, plagues of this kind and that, including, curiously, a river that turned red in Mississauga. But many of what people are talking about actually has more in common with the plagues of Exodus than they do with anything prophesied for the end times. So that's kind of an interesting piece. Jesus, of course, does give some signs. He talks about there'll be famines and wars and rumors of wars, earthquakes and these types of things. But again, they have been happening ever since he was on the earth. So to pin Corona to a particular biblical prophecy is, to me, a bit of a difficult move. Not something that the Bible really encourages, to be honest, from my perspective. There are many online prophecies talking about coronavirus, as you would know. And again, these are hard to discern, and they're hard to discern in part because I think biblically, when the word of prophecy is given or the office of the prophet is exercised, it is in a community, in the Christian community, where we know the speaker and we know the fruit of their life, the fruit of the Spirit, and we're more easily able to discern. Whereas today, we are watching prophecies out of Nigeria or Texas, and we have really no way of knowing the quality of the life of the speaker. We have no way of knowing their faithfulness or their history sometimes. And so these things are difficult to discern. So I take any of those kinds of prophecies with a grain of salt, even though I do believe strongly in the gift of prophecy today, and even in the office of the prophet. So it may well be that God has spoken to individuals in the church about this virus. People are asking, what is God up to in this virus? And I think the short answer is that we don't know, and we're probably not going to know for quite a while. Someone has said God often reveals himself but rarely explains himself, and I think there's wisdom in that. It may be in 20 or 30 years we'll know what God has been doing, but to come out confidently now and say this is what God is up to is, to my mind, not a task we can properly undertake. And then lastly, of course, whenever there's an event like this, there's a lot of fear. And people are afraid. They see this coronavirus linked maybe to the prophecies of Revelation. There's all kinds of talk out there now about vaccines and poor Mr. Gates and the mark of the beast, and it stirs up a lot of fear. Well, I'd like to leave you with this. I'd like to say that even when Jesus gives signs, they're not meant to have us go looking for a specific date and time. He said nobody knows that, not the angels nor the Son, only the Father. And they're not meant to make us fearful. They are meant to say, in general, these are the types of things will be happening in the world. And by the way, Jesus says, the Son of Man can return at any time and will be at an hour when you don't think it'll happen. So the theme, if you want, in terms of the Bible, is preparedness. We are supposed to be prepared. We're supposed to live in readiness. We are not supposed to be looking at the signs to say, oh, well, it's still a ways away, so I don't have to be ready yet. So you don't have to live in fear of this, but you certainly do need to walk in preparation. You need to walk in readiness for the return of the Lord that can happen at any time. So Jesus says two things to us in the middle of this that we know for sure, because it's biblical. He says, don't be afraid, but be ready. Always be ready, because he could come back before I finish this sentence.